Problem 5 is a statistics problem using the chi-squared test of independence, and I'm looking at the relationship between people's age and their choice of music. So part A asks me to write down the null hypothesis. H naught, or the null hypothesis, is that age and music choice are independent. Don't write down the two variables are independent. Be specific and say what the two variables are. Age and music choice are independent. Part B and C, I see the words write down, so that tells me it's a calculator problem. Let's see, write down the degrees of freedom. I remember that the calculation for degrees of freedom is the number of rows minus 1 times the number of columns minus 1. Let's see, I have 3 rows of data, and I have 3 columns of data. So 2 times 2 is 4. Since it says write down, you would not have to write that whole calculation out. That's just 4. And this problem has a box or lines at the bottom. Please make sure that you write your answers on those lines. Write down the chi-square test of independence. That means, or the chi-squared value. You are allowed to just get that value out of your calculator. So let's remind ourselves how we do that. The first thing that you need to do is put all of your data into a matrix. And the matrix button is the 4th one down on the left. You have to hit second matrix. And I'm going to cursor over to edit and hit enter, and that allows me to enter a matrix. I want to enter a 3 by 3. I had 3 rows and 3 columns. I'm going to make a 3 by 3 matrix. And then I'm going to put the data straight from the table into the matrix. So 35, 5, 50, 30, 10, 20, and 20, 25, 5. Again, this is the kind of problem that I'd like you to practice so that you can be efficient and not waste a lot of time on a problem that you're just going to be pulling a value out of the calculator. So now we go out of sort of matrix mode. Our data is still in there, and go to stat, and we want to go over to tests, and we're looking for the chi-squared test. I'm going to scroll down. If I remember correctly, it's at 0. Nope. There it is. Chi-squared test is at C. Hit enter, and it says my observed values are in A. Yes, that's where I put them. It will put the expected values into B for you, and you just tell the calculator that you'd like it to calculate that for you, and there's my chi-squared value. Again, we want to round this to 3 sig fig. The chi-squared value is going to be 51.6. You'll get 2 marks for writing that down correctly. And then it asks in part D for a reason, and what we would want to do is look at the chi-squared table value, and look, there's degrees of freedom right there, so you can actually don't even have to bother calculating it since you're going to put that into your calculator anyway. So you would go to the table value, and it says we're testing at a 5% level of independence, and you would want to look for the chi-squared value and looking at the table for 4 degrees of freedom testing at 5%, the chi-squared test value is 9.488. So your reason would be that since your chi-squared calculated value was greater than your chi-squared table value, and I would go ahead and write those values underneath. If 51.6 is greater than 9.488, you will reject the null hypothesis. And you could even write another sentence, sorry about that, I'm going to write it over here, that age and music choice, no surprise there, are not independent.